What's up guys, it's Chris from Tinted Media. In this video, I'm going to be walking through everything that you need to know about the Ads Manager in order to run effective Facebook ads. So first things first, there's not going to be much to see right off the bat until we go in to actually create a campaign. So first thing that we're going to be doing is just clicking on create. And then there's going to be a few different options that we've got here. We've got awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, app promotion, and then sales. Awareness is like top of funnel marketing, brand, just showing people that you exist. Traffic is going to be more for getting visitors to your website, getting people to click in. Maybe if you've got some type of promotion going on that you don't necessarily need a direct lead, a direct sale, but you just want people to see something on your site. Now, engagement is going to be good for just getting a lot of people to see your post, and not only see your post, but also click in, message you, etc. So a lot of times detailers will run engagement campaigns and they'll use Messenger as their conversion mechanism, and then they'll have people message them from the ad. Typically, I wouldn't recommend this. It's just not going to be quite as effective as leads, but it can work. Now, leads is where if you have a service business, if you're a detailer, ceramic coater, window tint, 99% of the time you're going to be using this. So leads are really good just for getting a cheap cost per lead and also higher quality leads than any of these other types. At promotion, not too many of you are going to have that. And then sales would be if you had like a booking link on your site or something of that nature. So for this case, let's go ahead and click on leads and then continue. Now, we are never going to want to use the recommended settings. You're just not going to get results nearly as good as what you will with manual. Not going to have as much testing. Facebook's going to take over a lot of stuff that could be optimized for you without necessarily getting the best results. So manual leads campaign and then continue. Now, inside the campaign, we're going to see a few different things. We're going to see the name. Typically for name, it doesn't matter a ton. I like to name it by the date. So for this example, it's just a 2-20 example campaign. I like to name it by the date and what it is. Special ad categories would be if you have financial product, employment, housing, social issues type of offer. 99% of the time, you're not going to have this. If you don't already know this applies to you, it probably doesn't, so just leave it blank. Now, campaign details, you're never going to want to change auction or campaign objective because we selected that just now. And then under show more options, campaign spending limit, definitely would not recommend adjusting this at all. Now, Advantage campaign budget does have its use cases. So once you've found your winning ads and you're creating a campaign for scaling, you can use the Advantage campaign budget, put your winning ads in there, and then Facebook will automatically rotate budget to whichever ad it feels like will do the best at that moment. So let's say you're a couple months into running ads, you've got 10 winning creatives, winning ad set settings. You can add those ad sets into one big campaign with campaign budget, and then Facebook will automatically put the spend wherever it feels like you'll get the most results. However, for your first campaigns, when you're testing things, finding what's working in your area, you definitely want to leave this off and take the control of having ad set budget. Now, A/B test, we're also going to leave this off. You're going to manually do your A/B testing in the ad set and ad level instead of doing it at the campaign. So that's pretty much it. Campaign settings, pretty simple. Now let's hop into the ad set settings. Again, top thing is going to be naming. So typically for naming, I like to do this by the date and then V1. So typically we'll test a few different styles of videos. So for this example, 2-20 V1, and then we'll have naming based on the audience and placements that we use. So for this example, we'll do open audience and open placements, and I'll explain what all that means in just a second. So conversion location, we're going to have website and calls, instant forms, messenger, instant forms and messenger, Instagram, calls, and app. Let me just really quickly change this to a personal page. Let's see here. All right, there we go. So website would be getting leads to submit a form through the website. For your auto styling business, this is almost never going to be what we recommend. Website and calls, same thing, wouldn't really recommend that. Instant forms is 90% of the time what we're going with. Instant forms is where on Facebook they have a form to fill out. You can choose what info they give you. It's going to get you the lowest cost per lead and also give you a relatively good quality lead. Now, the one time when you would use a website is if you're spending an insane amount of money per day, probably over $1,000 per day, and you're just getting too many leads to handle and you need only the highest quality coming through. then it makes sense to use a website. Outside of that, use instant forms, especially on a lower budget. Messenger, like I said before, it can work. It's not going to be as good as instant forms in most cases, but if you're not having success with instant forms, it is worth testing around with Messenger. Wouldn't recommend doing this. Would not recommend Instagram, and would not recommend calls for the ads. So stick to instant forms. Once you scale up, try out your website. And if instant forms aren't working at low budget, then maybe try your Messenger out. Now, performance goal is something that we don't really need to change. It's going to say max leads or max converted leads. And converted leads will try to show it to people who are actually going to close, but Facebook doesn't have a great touch on that. So typically you just want as much flow coming through as possible. Now, definitely don't touch cost per result goal. That will just mess you up. Delivery type, leave this on standard. No reason to change anything there. Dynamic creative can be really good. There are certain circumstances where you'd want to use this. So if you don't really need much control over anything with the actual ads, where the budget's going, and you already have winning creatives, then it can be good to use the dynamic creative setting. Typically, I'm going to leave this off and just put different ads inside of each ad set instead of using dynamic creative. However, again, once you have a scaling campaign, once you've found a couple winning creatives, then you could experiment with dynamic creative, see if it's something that works for you. But in general, we want to leave that off. Now, budget and schedule, you can set your budget really on whatever you want. Broad level, you want to have probably at least 10 to 20 bucks per ad set, especially if you're putting more than 2 ads inside of each ad set. Make sure you do have at least 20 bucks or more. Start date, this is good to set just on midnight. I've heard people say stuff about like you need to start your campaign at the start of the month, the start of the week. That's not true. Just start it at midnight. Whatever day you want, you'll be good to go. The only reason we're even starting it at midnight is because if you start it, let's say at 8 p.m., it's going to spend your entire daily budget from 8 to 12, and that's just going to be a lot less efficient for Facebook than using than just starting at the beginning of the day. Now, end date, never set this. Once the campaign is working, you don't want to touch it. Leave end date off. You can manually go in at any time and stop the campaign if needed. Budget scheduling, wouldn't recommend this. I know this is something that, or ad scheduling, I know this is something that's good on Google, but for Facebook, it's just not going to work out the same way. I would leave that off, let the leads come in overnight. And then budget increases, you can set this if you want. I would just recommend manually increasing budget after you find stuff that's working though, especially since we're doing a bunch of different tests and trying to figure out what settings are working, what creatives are working, etc. Now for audience controls, you can control the location. Obviously, you're going to want to put this just down to your service area. What people, what location are you actually serving? Make sure you've got that narrowed down. You don't want to be getting leads from all the way across the country or in another country. So just make sure that's correct. Also, minimum age. A lot of you will want to play with this. I typically do 22 to 25 just because most times, someone's not going to have the money for a $2,000 ceramic coating if they're 18. And then custom audiences, don't need to really exclude anyone. Languages, definitely change this to do English only. At least if your shop is English, I should say. If you do Spanish, it's fine to leave it on open. If you only do English, put that on English all. Then we go down to the audience settings. Now, typically you're going to want to add at least suggestions into here. So like the open audience, what we're going to do is add in suggestion with age. So typically you can do either 22 or 25 up to either 55 or 60. For this example, we'll do 25 to 55 and then narrow down the gender to male. This is typically a winning audience selection for auto detailers. Super simple to get into if you're just starting out, just finding creatives, figuring out what works there. Now, once you want to get into the more detailed stuff, you can adjust this. Come in here. I wouldn't necessarily recommend income-based targeting just because it's not going to make a huge difference in your cost per conversion or your cost per closed client, but it will make a big difference in your cost per lead. It will likely drive the cost per lead up quite a bit, but you could add some interest in here about cars, car manufacturers, keeping stuff clean, maybe home and garden. Target the people who have got the money and are interested in your service. But again, this is not going to be a huge thing of importance. Big thing, set the age, set the gender, and you should be pretty much good to go. Original audience, we're almost never going to recommend when you're just starting out. Find your winning creatives and all first. And then if you really want to try and split test, your creatives are super dialed in and the only thing left for you to test is the audience, then you can come in here, try and do an original audience, add in the targeting. And when you're doing this, you just want to unselect advantage detailed targeting. Now, the last thing that we're going to have at the ad set level is going to be our placements. So with placements, we're going to have a few options. Advantage Plus, which is just Facebook choosing. This is going to work out. Typically, it's pretty good. But there's also going to be manual placements, which is where you get to decide where the ad is actually showing up. And this is something that's super 50-50. Sometimes Advantage works, sometimes manual works. So under here, if you're going to do manual, you're going to want to uncheck the audience network. And then you're going to want to narrow this down to only stories, feeds, and reels. So right here, what we do is say, okay, stories, that's good, stories and reels. Now up here, we're going to want to uncheck Business Explorer, Instagram Explorer, video feeds, don't need that, don't need Marketplace, don't need that, and we don't need the profile feed. So Instagram Explorer. Once that's done, you're going to have 6 out of 19 placements. It's just the Facebook and Instagram feeds, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, and both stories. So that is pretty much it for the ad set level. And again, all of this is stuff to play around with, see what works best for you. Now, once that's done, we can just click on next. Now, once again, we've got the name at the top. Typically, what we like to do here is just video 1.1. So you can see here we've got 2-20 V1. Now we're going to have video 1, and this is 0.1, and you'll see why in just a minute. Then make sure you've got your Facebook and Instagram page selected. Leave partnership ad off. Once we scroll down here, we're going to have the ad setup. Now, if you have a dynamic setup, it's going to be slightly different from this, but basically the same concept. Now, multi-advertiser ads, you can just leave that on. That's going to be fine. Carousel would be images or videos where you're putting multiple in the same slot. Typically, single image or video is going to be what you want to do. Then for destination, you're going to get to create a form. Creating the form is super simple. You just fill out the name, select the type. Typically, more volume is what you want to go with. You're going to click on next. Intro, you can do a greeting that's going to be showing the offer, further building on that, creating more urgency to get them to fill out. Then we've got questions, so you can add in what type of car do you have, what's the year, make, and model, how soon do you want this done, what's your budget, things of that nature. And then make sure you're getting name, email, and of course the phone number to contact them at. Description doesn't matter a whole ton. You can just put in, please enter the best contact info for you below. Then add your privacy policy in here. And finally, on the ending, you can do a couple things here. You can have them call you directly. You can have them visit your website. You can have them book a call with you, where it's basically just a sales call, but they're booking in themselves. And then boom, you can create the form. So super simple, super easy. I'm not actually going to create one right now. Then we're going to scroll down. I would recommend having this chat with leads from Instant Form. That would just start a messenger conversation. I'd recommend leaving that off. Not really a reason to do that. And then lead delivery. Connect your CRM to automatically deliver. That's something that you definitely should have set up. You need some type of CRM. If you want to use Go High Level, there's a link in the description for that below. Book a free call. We'll help you set that up. And then also potentially grow the business. But set up a CRM. Make sure you're good there. I'm not going to go through this right now because this is going to be super dependent on what tool you're actually using. Then we're going to have set up creative. So we're going to select on video ad here. We're going to go ahead and just add the media. Let's add one of my recent Instagram posts as an example. And then if you need to crop the video, you can do so here. Typically, I would recommend cropping this down to 1:1 just because it's going to look a lot cleaner when it's on those placements. And then just leave your vertical video as vertical, obviously. Then we're going to select next, and I like to turn optimizations off. Then we're going to click on done, and now that's going to process the video. And then we can go ahead and add in our primary text, our headlines, our descriptions, and then click the call to action. So primary text, what you're going to want to do here is the main copy. So you need to really be selling the lead on the click right here. Headline, you're going to want to tell them what to do next, point out the savings, build trust. And then description, you're just going to want to put urgency. So next 5 people only, offer ends Sunday, something of that nature. And then sign up, I would typically recommend doing either learn more, get quote, or get offer, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing something that's a get quote ad, obviously you're going to put get quote. If you're doing a generalized ad, you're going to just want to put learn more. And if you're doing a specific offer, you're going to want to put get offer. Now, advantage creative, just ignore this. Don't need to worry about that. Tracking, I would recommend setting up your CRM events and also any website events that you've got. Not going to go into that in this video right now. That's a whole nother thing. This is more based just around the settings. So that's pretty much it for the initial settings and how that works. Now, the reason why we're naming this like V1.1 or Video 1.1 is because what we're going to end up doing is duplicating this and testing different creatives, different videos, and also duplicating this to have any changes with the targeting or with the placements or the style of video. Again, that's another video, and there's actually a free guide on exactly how to structure your campaign in the description below, so download that. If you want to grow your business as quick as you can, book a call with me and my team. Facebook ads right now, I'm looking at the calendar, it's January, February, it's February 20th right now. When March hits, things are going to go crazy. In the last 2 days, my shop has booked over 5.5K in ceramic coatings with deposits. So things are about to get wild. Book a call, and I will talk to you there.